Yo, sorry I'm late. It's been a long week, and last week's bets we had an uninspiring result. I put a ton of work in last week handicapping, and yeah, the Rams was a great pick. I ended up going with, but my first pick I put on the feed was the Thursday night game. So I'm staying off those probably for the remainder of the season, just to protect my record. It's so hard to pick a Thursday night game. And then obviously this week I was all over the Chargers and refused to bet it because I hate Thursday nights. And sure enough, that was probably the best bet of the week. Because as I go down the line, spreads are awful again. I mean, it's just like, they're giving dogs 9 points to cover, which I remember when I first started gambling on pro sports like a decade ago, maybe longer, my early 20s. I used to see spreads, bad teams, like you'd have the Cleveland Browns, the Detroit Lions, who never won a game, who had like back-to-back seasons with no wins back then, these trash franchises, but they would still get plus 5.5 lines for 6.5 lines. And back then I used to think, how is that possible that a terrible team or a great team like the Patriots is only getting a 5.5 point line against, the Detroit Lions? And yeah, there was just not enough there was just so much parity in the league that, any team could come out and beat anybody. And that was something that they used to respect. And now it seems like they're just forcing us to decide if we want to respect that or not. It's like, it's almost like these odds are being made without any intention about what the final score is going to be. Like, they don't care if they're going to land near it. They just want to make sure that we don't know who's supposed to win or how it's supposed to go down. Yeah, because we're dealing with a bunch of cop-outs again. We got a 14.5 point spread, a 7.5 point spread, a 6.5 point spread, a 6.5 point spread, and an 11.5 point spread that we have to cover this week. It's fucking awful. Yeah, it's frustrating, and it's hard to win. Like last week, we won one of our games by 4 points, and another one by like 3. We needed 6.5 and 6 respectively, or something like that, with the Colts and with the Packers last week barely covering, and the Broncos did not cover, right? We barely won. So yeah, I'm really getting fed up with these big ass spreads, but the teams that I'm betting against are bad. So that's how you have to figure it out. You have to decide, can this team win? And then can they beat the team that they're facing? If both those two answers are no, then you're in a good place. So that's what we got to start. The teams we're playing are really bad, so we're gonna go ahead and ride with the hot hands and pray that we can get on the right side for once. First game is a rematch from previously in the season where the Colts were an away team and they dominated the Titans by about 30 points. That game was a heartbreaker back then because I had the under in that game, expecting the Colts to put the clamps on Titans, and probably the game going down to like a 20-14 score. I was wrong. So I'm hoping that the Colts can repeat the performance and blow up like they've been doing on everybody, just score all kinds of touchdowns, 3 from Taylor, 1 from Pittman, 2 from Jones. Like, I'll take them all, because we got Colts minus 14.5. That's not good. That's an awful line. I hate picking it, but you expect me to bet on the Titans plus anything? No way. I won't do it. So that's why it's like driving me crazy, because it's like the books know that we're not going to bet the dog, so they make the line as far as they can. I mean, it's completely unreasonable. But this line at least hasn't moved in the favor of the Colts or away from the Colts. It stayed stagnant, so it's probably because most people are staying away from it. But I mean, they beat them by like 31 last time, so I don't think the Titans have gotten much better. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the hot hand. I'm taking the Colts to stay hot and win by, I'm going to buy that half point, win by 14. Next game was a bit of a mystery to me because the line has moved in the favor of the underdog. So right now I'm seeing the Bucks are minus 7.5 to the Saints. I think that's right. Anyways, again, garbage spread, but Saints are bad. All we've known this year is that that if we fade the bad teams, we'll have the better record. Something I saw about this line I didn't like. I think it's too small. I don't know if I'm seeing it. I think that might be 3.5 points on that spread, or 7.5. But either way, Saints shouldn't make it a game. I know it's division rivalry. I think they're in New Orleans, but the Bucs have been one of the best teams in the league, and I believe that their losses are ones that they want to avenge, because they probably deserve to sneak a couple more wins out. I mean, they lose games by one possession or win by one possession, so hopefully they are in the mindset of kind of redeeming a loss and then proving that they don't just play down to the level of their competition or up to the level of the competition. They are a constant, force that needs to be reckoned with. So we're going Bucs against the spread. Now, that's my last pick that I like. Those are my only two teams I feel confident in the opponents they're facing and in their ability to pull off the spread. So those are my best bets. But we keep going because 2 isn't enough. So the next bet we're going to lock in is the Pats. And they've got the Browns visiting Cleveland, or visiting New England. This is a tough one. Last week I actually took the Browns over the Miami Dolphins. I was really happy with that. On my own, I'm not quite at the point of giving out crazy picks like that just yet. I've got one for you in a second that's like my long shot or whatever. But these picks are all favorites. I mean, as you can tell, the Pats are like minus 6.5 point favorite to the Browns. But again, in my work on this stuff, I find that focusing on the opposition is as valuable, if not more valuable, than focusing on your own squad. So if you're out there playing fantasy and you're watching these videos, always focus on the defensive passing yards per game, the defensive rush yards per game. Don't always focus on your own rush yards, because if you've played 3 games against the bottom of the league and you're rushing for 200 yards a game, and the next opponent you face is only giving up 60 yards a game, and you're only betting on how good that offensive potential is, you're going to lose. You have to factor in the other side. So what I'm doing right now is betting against bad teams, because at this point in the season, I don't even know if the Colts or the Pats are for real. I don't even know if they're that good. I know that right now they're looking like a couple of the top teams, but we aren't even at the halfway point. So any one of these teams that I just picked, the Colts, the Bucs, or the Pats, goes on a 2-3 game losing streak, I mean, that's not that insane, not that hard to believe. I mean, if they have to face the Bills and some other top AFC team back-to-back, then on the 3rd game, we're talking about how good is this team. And then they're in a must-win situation. So we're getting to the point where it's starting to show, and I'm liking that. I'm excited because this is where you can really start to pull stuff off. I should have faded the Raiders last week, because again, this is where you start to see like who the really bad teams are and who's starting to figure themselves out. I think the Chiefs are starting to figure themselves out a little bit. They might be a better bet moving forward than they were. The last few weeks they were a little wishy-washy. But here we go. So we got Pats. My next bet, at home, taking on the Browns, followed by my number 4 pick. I got the Falcons at home hosting Miami. This would be a game most years where I would say, it's a shootout, last person with the ball wins. But the Falcons defense is ranking near the top in all categories, and the Miami offense is middle of the pack and their defense is way down. So if you just strictly do that matchup right there, Falcons O versus bad D and Miami bad O versus a great D, Atlanta has the advantage. But here we go again. Here we fucking go again. Nobody knows what the Falcons are going to be. All they know is they can play D. Everyone thinks Miami's bad, sure, but they have potential to score on occasion, which they've done this year a couple times. But we have a 6.5 point spread for the Falcons. This is disgusting. It's a disgusting line. It should be 4 or less points. 5 points maximum. 6.5 points. You need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. 6.5 points, you need a full touchdown to win this game. whatever. The Falcons are a touchdown better than the Dolphins. At the beginning of the season, I think that's when the spread came out, was 7.5. So preseason, they thought the Falcons were this good over the Dolphins, and now it's moved to 6.5. That the Dolphins are a bit better than or the Falcons are worse than the people planned or whatever. It's just funny to watch the line movement because they do create lines for the entire season before the season starts. And I think that's really dumb. I think you can't really plan anything out outside of like 3 or 4 weeks in advance because you got injury reserve and things of that nature to factor in. But this line stayed fast pretty good through the season. Falcons 6.5 over the Dolphins. We'll take it. Again, not always about who we're picking, but who we're picking against. Next bet, this is my kind of like, I mean, these are both pretty good reaches, but neither of them are dogs, so you can't really call it an upset. But the Packers have not won in Lambeau in 7 attempts, and it's been 15 years or something like that, 20 years. So back when Aaron Rodgers was playing, they couldn't win there. Back when even Favre's end years, they couldn't win there. They haven't won in Pittsburgh. So, how do we bet that? Well, I'm going with the Aaron Rodgers of it all, and I'm going to say that the Steelers lose the game, and Aaron Rodgers continues his streak of not winning while the Packers are in Heinz. I'm sorry, I said Lambeau before, but while the Packers are in Heinz Field, the Packers have not won in Heinz Field in Pittsburgh in over a decade, in 7 attempts. And again, Aaron Rodgers was a part of a lot of those. Could not get, they had his number. They were dialed into him. He could not beat Tomlin. So we're gonna, and again, this is all just nonsense, right? Like, I don't know how to handicap this game, but I can know what the trends are leading into it, and I can pick a trend that I think is like boo-boo to foot. I think that this trend is crazy. 7 straight games they haven't won. Also, Aaron Rodgers was a part of that team that hadn't won. So I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers' streak continues of not being able to win while the Packers are in Heinz Field. The Packers win the game over Aaron Rodgers, who has some sort of curse around the Cheeseheads visiting Heinz Field to where he cannot be on the winning side. Does that make sense? So we're fading the home team that's been dominant against the Packers in the past, and we're going Packers minus the spread, which is 3.5. I'm probably going to buy that hook. It moved up to 3.5 from 3, I think. Or it was always a 3.5. But either way, it's gross. We're buying the hook. So enjoy that one. That game's going to be awesome, regardless. But I don't trust the Steelers' defense right now, and I would love to see them put on a show that made me believe in them again. I lose the bet, but the Steelers' D shuts out the Packers. Okay, that's good for my futures. But same thing, I have the Packers for the Super Bowl, so if the Packers blow out the Steelers today, I'm going to feel pretty good about my Super Bowl pick too. So I got some skin in this game, but I'm just excited to see what 2 good teams on the field look like. Not one good team and one bad team, and then one team playing to the level of the competition like the Steelers we saw last week is not the Steelers we're going to see against the Packers. That's just guaranteed. Maybe hopefully on offense they can shine a little bit, but it's going to be a different game, and it's going to be a different headspace for the players. So I'm excited to see what happens. And then finally, if you're really looking to round things out with a stronger pick that you feel more confident about, and you've been kind of nervous about some of my picks, Daniels is out against the Chiefs. So it's Mariota again. He started like the end of the game last week, so it's Mariota's back. Maybe an extra turnover you get out of that. Maybe again a more condensed run game or condensed game where you're not as worried about his escapability, so you don't have to spy as intently, but he still can rush for that 30-40. But again, it's you're able to keep him in front of you. So Chiefs have been looking methodical. They've been looking good. I might eat my words, but I'm putting the Chiefs on this one for y'all. And yeah, that's my chalk parlay this week. Sorry it took so long. It was, yeah, it's part of the reason why there's not a lot of in-depth information, and we kind of just had to go off of our old research of what we have already learned about teams, is because, yeah, it's been a long week. But for posterity, I need to get these videos out before the games go off, so that 5 years from now, when we're still doing this, we'll have that record to stand on. We'll stand on business with this record, because one of these weeks we're going to go 7-0, 5-0, 6-0. I can't wait, and I know you can't either. So good luck this week. Enjoy the games. Get in there. You got like 3 hours to get these bets in, and hopefully we'll get this out before 8. Good luck.